and you're gonna censor that up because you can't R-E-E-D? A censor nobody in a cheap jacket who thinks he can steal from me.
Get out of my seat. The words exploded through the cabin like a bomb. Every head in rows 8 through 12 snapped up. Conversations died mid-sentence. A baby stopped crying just to listen. I looked up from my phone to see a woman in a crimson blazer looming over me, red heels planted wide in the aisle, phone thrust into my face like a weapon. Her lips painted the same aggressive red as her shoes were pulled back in something between a smile and a snarl. "I'm sorry," I said, my brain still trying to process what was happening. "You heard me." She jabbed a finger tipped with a red nail so sharp it looked capable of drawing blood at my chest. "That's my seat. I booked it weeks ago. Get your ass up and move." Behind her, at least 15 passengers stood frozen in the aisle, luggage hanging from their hands, mouths slightly open. One woman was already holding up her own phone, recording. "Ma'am." I held up my boarding pass with a hand that I forced to stay steady. "This is seat 9A. My boarding pass, clearly, she slapped the pass out of my hand. The little piece of paper fluttered to the floor between us. The entire cabin seemed to gasp as one organism. "I don't give a fuck what your little paper says," she hissed, leaning down so close I could smell her expensive perfume mixed with something sharper rage, maybe, or desperation. "I'm Veronica Sterling. 3 million followers. I was live when I boarded this plane. My Lux Lifers are watching right now. And you," she looked me up and down with pure contempt, "you're nobody. A fucking nobody. In a cheap jacket, who thinks he can steal from Emmy." Her phone was inches from my face, the red recording light like a targeting laser. Through the screen, I could see myself pale, shocked, trapped in a window seat with nowhere to go. "I need to see your boarding pass," I said, my voice coming out quieter than I wanted. "If there's a mistake, the only mistake," she shrieked, and it was a shriek now, her voice climbing to a pitch that made my teeth hurt, "is you sitting in my seat. Do you know what I paid for that window? Do you know how many views I get on my flight content? Millions. I get millions of views. And you're gonna fuck that up because you can't read?" She grabbed the back of my seat and shook it. Hard. My head snapped forward and back. "Ma'am, you need to stop. I'll stop when you get out of my fucking seat." A flight attendant was pushing through the crowd now, her face set in professional alarm. But Veronica saw her coming and spun to face her phone, her voice instantly shifting to a breathless, victimized whisper. "You guys. Oh my God. You guys. This man assaulted me. He's in my seat, and when I asked nicely, so nicely he got aggressive. He hit me. I have it all on video. He hit a woman. This is abuse. This is violence. Someone call security. Someone call the fucking police." My mouth fell open. "I didn't touch you. You lunged at me!" She whirled back around, and I saw it then, the calculation in her eyes, the performance. She'd done this before. This was a script she'd perfected. "You tried to grab my phone! Everyone saw it! You all saw it, right?" The passengers in the aisle looked at each other uncertainly. Nobody had seen anything because nothing had happened, but her phone was there, recording, and she had 3 million followers, and who was I? Nobody. Just like she said. "Ma'am, I need you to step back." The flight attendant, Nicole, her name tag said, had reached us. Her voice was firm, but I could hear the tremor underneath. She'd walked into a hurricane. "Sir, are you all right?" "I'm fine," I said. "I'm in my assigned seat. 9A. I have my boarding pass right." I looked down at the floor where it had fallen. Veronica's red heel was planted directly on top of it. "Oops," she said, not moving her foot. Her smile was vicious. "Looks like you lost your proof." "Ma'am," Nicole said, her voice harder now, "I need to see your boarding pass. Right now." "Why? So you can take HIS side?" Veronica's voice went shrill again. "I'm being discriminated against. Is it because I'm a woman? Is it because I'm successful? Because I have a platform? You people hate influencers, don't you? You hate that we have power. Your boarding pass. Nicole held out her hand, palm up. It wasn't a request anymore. Veronica's jaw clenched. For a moment, I thought she might actually swing at Nicole. Her fist curled, her body tensed. The passengers behind her took a collective step back. Then she yanked a paper from her designer bag and slammed it into Nicole's hand, so hard it made a slapping sound. Nicole looked at it for exactly 2 seconds. When she looked up, her face had gone from professional concern to something colder. Your seat is 9B, the aisle. That's a lie. Your seat is 9B. This passenger, Nicole gestured to me, is in his correctly assigned seat. You have 3 options. Sit in 9B, accept a rebooking on the next available flight, or be removed from this aircraft by security. You have 30 seconds to choose. The cabin had gone so quiet, I could hear the air conditioning. Somewhere toward the back, someone was definitely still recording. This was going to be all over the internet in an hour. Veronica's face cycled through 6 different emotions in 3 seconds. Rage, disbelief, calculation, fear, more rage, and finally, something that looked almost like rationality. Fine. She spat. Fine. I'll sit in the aisle like a peasant, but this isn't over. She looked directly into her phone camera. You guys, remember this. Remember that this airline discriminates against content creators. Remember that they sided with a man over a woman. Remember that when you're booking your flights. And remember his face. She swung the camera to me again because this creep is about to be famous. She threw herself into seat 9B with so much force the entire row shook. Passengers scattered. Nicole stepped back quickly. The plane's cabin seemed to vibrate with Veronica's fury. She kicked off her red heels and hurled them under the seat in front of her, jerked her seatbelt on with savage yanks, slammed her designer bag into the seat pocket so hard the pocket tore. And all the while, that phone, that goddamn phone, kept recording. Nicole leaned down close to me, her voice barely audible. "Sir, are you injured? Did she hurt you when she grabbed your seat?" "I'm okay," I whispered, but my hands were shaking. My heart was hammering. This had escalated from 0 to DEFCON 1 inch under 90 seconds. "I'm going to file an incident report," Nicole said quietly. "That was assault. That was intimidation. That was..." She glanced at Veronica's phone, still recording, still broadcasting, all documented. She straightened up and spoke clearly, loudly, for the benefit of every recording device in the vicinity. "Ma'am, you are officially warned that any further disruption to this flight will result in your immediate removal upon landing and a permanent ban from this airline. Do you understand?" Veronica didn't look at her. She was too busy whispering furiously into her phone. "This is tyranny. This is fascism. This is what happens when corporations silence the truth." I bent down and picked up my boarding pass from where it had fallen miraculously undamaged, despite being stepped on. 9A. Window. Mine. I pressed my forehead against that cool plastic window and tried to slow my breathing. My therapist's voice echoed in my head. 4 counts in, hold 4. 4 counts out. The passengers who'd been trapped in the aisle finally moved, filing past with sympathetic looks and a few muttered "holy shits," and "that was insanes." Linda, across the aisle in 9C, caught my eye. She was an older woman with steel gray hair and the kind of face that suggested she'd seen everything. She leaned over and whispered, "I got the whole thing on my phone, every second, including her slapping your boarding pass. Behind us, 2 rows back, a man in his 30s nodded once. He had that quiet, watchful stillness that screamed military or law enforcement. His eyes hadn't left Veronica since the confrontation started. The plane finally finished boarding. The door closed with a pressurized hiss. The engines started their low whine. Next to me, Veronica was still live streaming, still whispering into her phone about injustice and discrimination and corporate tyranny. And I knew, with the kind of bone-deep certainty that comes from watching something irreversible begin, that this flight was going to be a nightmare. I had no idea I was wrong. It was going to be so much worse than a nightmare, because 3 hours later, Veronica Sterling would be in handcuffs. Her 3 million followers would turn on her like wolves. Her career would be over, and I would have a permanent scar, not from her grabbing my seat, but from what she was about to do with a cup of scalding coffee and a lie so brazen it defied belief. But that was still to come. Right now, as the plane pushed back from the gate, all I could do was grip the armrest, stare out that window I'd paid $45 extra for, and try to remember how to breathe. My name is David Chen. I'm 34 years old. I'm an architect from Seattle. I have severe flight anxiety. And I just made an enemy of someone with 3 million followers who had nothing to lose and everything to prove. My name is David Chen. I'm 34 years old, an architect based in Seattle, and I have a very specific relationship with flying. I hate it. Not in a casual, oh, flying is such a hassle way. I mean genuine, sweaty-palmed, heart-racing anxiety that starts the moment I book a ticket and doesn't end until my feet touch solid ground again. It's not rational. I know, statistically, I'm safer in a plane than driving to the airport, but my brain doesn't care about statistics. My brain cares about the fact that we're in a metal tube 7 miles above the earth, and if something goes wrong, there's nowhere to go but down. That's why I always pay extra for a window seat. It's my coping mechanism. When the panic starts to creep in, I press my forehead against that cool plastic and watch the world below. It grounds me, reminds me that the plane is moving forward, that we're getting closer to landing, that this will end. So when I booked flight 1847 from Seattle to Miami for a conference, I didn't hesitate to pay the extra $45 for seat 9A. It wasn't a luxury, it was survival. The flight was scheduled for March 15th, 2025, a Friday morning departure that should have been routine. I'd packed my carry-on the night before: laptop, sketchpad, noise-canceling headphones, a book my sister had recommended, and a small bag of ginger candies for my nervous stomach. I arrived at SeaTac Airport 2 hours early, the way I always do. Checked in, got through security, found my gate and settled into a corner seat where I could see the departure board and keep an eye on the boarding process. That's when I first noticed her. Veronica Sterling was impossible to miss. Even in a terminal full of travelers, she stood out like a beacon of calculated glamour. The crimson blazer, the red heels that seemed wildly impractical for air travel, the way she moved through the gate area like she was on a runway instead of waiting to board a commercial flight. She was live streaming. Of course she was. The phone was mounted on a selfie stick, angled to capture her face and just enough of the background to show she was at an airport. Her voice carried across the gate area, bright, performative, relentlessly cheerful. Okay, Lux Lifers, we are about to board. I manifested first-class vibes, but we're working with what we have. I'm going to document this entire journey for you because transparency is my brand. Even when the airlines don't recognize excellence, she winked at the camera. I watched her for a moment, then went back to my book. I'd seen influencers before. They were part of the landscape now, unavoidable background noise in public spaces. As long as she stayed out of my way, I didn't care. The boarding call came. Group 1, Group 2, then Group 3, my group, and apparently hers. I stood, grabbed my bag, and joined the line. She was a few people behind me, still filming, narrating her boarding experience like she was a travel correspondent instead of just another economy passenger. When I scanned my boarding pass and walked down the jet bridge, I felt that familiar tightness in my chest. The anxiety always peaked right before boarding. Once I was in my seat with my forehead against the window, I'd be okay. I just had to get there. I found row 9 and slid into 9A, tucking my bag under the seat in front of me. The window was there, waiting. I exhaled slowly. This part was done. Now I just had to survive the next 5 hours. That's when she arrived. "Excuse me, you're in my seat." And that's how it started. After her declaration that I was in her seat and my refusal to move, Veronica Sterling stood there, phone still recording, clearly waiting for me to cave under the social pressure of being filmed. I didn't. "Ma'am," I said again, my voice steady despite the rising anxiety in my chest. "I'm in my assigned seat. Your ticket says 9B. That's the aisle seat right there." She glanced at the empty seat beside me with pure disdain. "The aisle is for people who don't understand travel aesthetics. I need the window. For my content. My followers expect it. Your followers will survive," I said flatly. "I paid for this seat, specifically. I'm not moving." Her expression shifted from entitled to outraged. "Are you kidding me right now? Do you have any idea who I am?" "No," I admitted. "And it doesn't matter. We both have assigned seats. Mine is the window, yours is the aisle. That's how this works." The line of passengers behind her was getting longer, their irritation more visible. Someone muttered, "Come on, lady." Another person sighed loudly. Veronica ignored them all. She turned back to her phone, her voice shifting into that performative victim tone I'd heard before in viral videos. "This man is harassing me. He stole my seat and now he's being really aggressive. I literally feel threatened right now." My jaw tightened. I'm sitting down reading my boarding pass. That's not aggression. You're mansplaining airplane seating to me. I'm explaining facts to anyone who'll listen. A flight attendant appeared, a woman in her 40s with short, dark hair and an expression that suggested she'd already had a long day. Her name tag read, "Nicole. Is there a problem here?" Nicole's voice was professional but carried an edge of exhaustion. Veronica immediately switched into damsel in distress mode. "Yes, thank you so much for coming. This man took my window seat and won't move. I specifically requested window when I booked, and now he's refusing to accommodate me even though I explained that I need it for my work." Nicole looked at me. I held up my boarding pass without saying a word. She glanced at it, then at Veronica's ticket, which she'd thrust into Nicole's hand. Nicole's expression didn't change, but I saw something flicker in her eyes. Recognition, maybe, or just the weary knowledge of what she was dealing with. "Ma'am," Nicole said to Veronica, "your assigned seat is 9B, the aisle seat. This passenger is in his correct seat, 9A. But I need the window. Your assigned seat is 9B, Nicole repeated, her voice firmer now. "The plane cannot depart until all passengers are seated and the aisle is clear. You have two options. Sit in your assigned seat, or we can rebook you on the next available flight." The threat hung in the air. For a moment, I thought Veronica might actually choose to be rebooked, but then she looked at her phone, still recording, and seemed to calculate something. "Fine," she snapped, "but I'm filing a complaint. This is unacceptable customer service." She threw herself into seat 9B with such force that the entire row shook. Her crimson blazer was rumpled now. Her red heels kicked off immediately and shoved under the seat. She angled her body as far from me as possible, creating a wall of hostile energy. Nicole gave me a brief, sympathetic look before moving on to help other passengers. I turned to the window, pressing my palm against the cool plastic. My heart was still racing, not from the confrontation, but from the pre-flight anxiety that never quite went away. I pulled out my ginger candies and popped one in my mouth, focusing on the tart sweetness. Beside me, Veronica was already back on her phone. "Okay, Lux Lifers, so that was a disaster. The airline literally refused to help me, and this man next to me is the most entitled person I've ever met. But we're gonna power through because that's what we do, right? We don't let negativity win." I closed my eyes and counted to 10. My sister's voice echoed in my head. "Don't engage with crazy, David. Just let it roll off." The plane filled up, across the aisle in 9C. I noticed a woman in her 50s settling in with a paperback. She caught my eye and gave me a small, knowing shake of her head. Her name, I'd learn later, was Linda. 2 rows back in 11D sat a man in his 30s, quiet, watchful, with the kind of still presence that suggested military or law enforcement. That was James Rivera, though I didn't know it yet. The safety demonstration began. Veronica filmed it while providing sarcastic commentary. "Oh look, a seatbelt. Revolutionary. And if we crash into the ocean, this seat cushion will definitely save us. Definitely." Nicole walked by during her pre-flight check. "Ma'am, your phone needs to be in airplane mode for takeoff." Veronica rolled her eyes. "It is." It clearly wasn't. The Wi-Fi symbol was visible at the top of her screen. Nicole stared at her until Veronica made a show of switching it off. The moment Nicole turned away, I saw her toggle it back on. Simple rules, apparently, were suggestions. The engines started. The plane began taxiing toward the runway. This was the part I hated most, the buildup, the moment right before we left the ground. I gripped the armrest, staring out at the tarmac rolling past. Veronica noticed. "Are you okay? You look like you're having a panic attack." "I'm fine." I lied. "You don't look fine. You look terrified." She turned to her phone. "You guys, the man who stole my seat is freaking out. This is so uncomfortable for me right now." I didn't respond. I focused on my breathing. In through the nose, out through the mouth. The technique my therapist had taught me. The plane turned onto the runway. The engines roared. And then, that stomach-dropping moment we were lifting off. I pressed my forehead against the window, watching Seattle shrink below us. The fear was there, sharp and insistent, but manageable. The window helped. It always did. We climbed through the clouds. The plane leveled off. The seatbelt sign dinged off. I'd made it through the worst part, or so I thought. Veronica Sterling, it turned out, was just getting started. 20 minutes into the flight, the beverage service began. Nicole and another flight attendant, a younger man named Tyler, pushed the cart down the aisle with practiced efficiency. When they reached our row, Nicole looked at me first. "Something to drink, sir?" "Just ginger ale, please," I said, "with ice." She handed me the can and a plastic cup. I thanked her and set them carefully on my tray table. Then she turned to Veronica. "And for you, ma'am?" Veronica had been waiting for this moment. I could tell by the way she perked up, phone already positioned to capture the interaction. "I'll have a coffee," she announced. "But it needs to be really hot, like extra hot. I hate lukewarm coffee. And I need real cream, not that powdered stuff, and actual sugar, not those fake packets." Nicole's expression remained neutral. "We have regular cream and sugar packets available." "Not the powdered creamer?" "No, ma'am. Fine. 3 creams, 4 sugars." Nicole prepared the coffee and handed it over. Veronica made a show of testing it, taking a tiny sip while her phone captured every moment. "It's acceptable," she declared to her audience. "Not great, but we're working with limited resources up here." She proceeded to tear open the cream and sugar packets with unnecessary violence, dumping them into her cup and stirring aggressively. The spoon clinked against the cup like an alarm bell. I tried to focus on my book, a thriller my sister had insisted I read, but it was impossible. Veronica's presence was overwhelming. She narrated everything. The color of the coffee, the texture of the napkin, the way the overhead air vent was literally attacking her hair. "You guys, I can't with this flight," she said to her phone. "The energy is so chaotic, and being stuck next to Mr. Window Seat Thief isn't helping my vibe at all." I kept reading, or pretending to read. The words swam on the page. The captain's voice crackled over the intercom. "Folks, we're going to be hitting some turbulence in the next few minutes. We're asking everyone to return to their seats and fasten their seatbelts. Flight attendants, please prepare for rough air." The plane immediately began to bounce, not violently, but enough to make my already nervous stomach clench. I tightened my seatbelt and gripped the armrest. The window helped. I could see we were still moving forward, still making progress. Across the aisle, Linda had put down her book and was sitting calmly, hands folded in her lap. 2 rows back, James Rivera sat perfectly still, his expression unreadable. Veronica, however, was panicking, or at least performing panic. "Oh my God, you guys, this is so scary. Why is the plane shaking? Is this normal? Someone tell me this is normal." "It's normal." I said quietly. It's just turbulence. She glared at me. I wasn't talking to you. The plane dropped suddenly, one of those stomach-lurching falls that makes you feel like you're on a roller coaster. Several passengers gasped. My ginger ale sloshed in its cup. And that's when it happened. Veronica had been holding her extra hot coffee away from her body while filming herself reacting to the turbulence. When the plane dropped, her arm jerked. The coffee cup flew from her hand in a perfect arc and landed directly in my lap. The heat was instantaneous and shocking. It soaked through my jeans, scalding my thigh. I yelped a sound I couldn't control. "Oh my God!" Veronica shrieked. But she wasn't looking at me. She was looking at her phone. "Did you guys see that? He just knocked my coffee out of my hand." He literally bumped my arm and made me spill. I was speechless, staring down at the dark stain spreading across my jeans, feeling the burning pain spreading across my skin. The smell of sweet, creamy coffee filled the air. "You elbowed me," I said, my voice tight with pain and disbelief. "The plane dropped, and you stuck your elbow directly into my ribs." "I did not." She turned to her phone with theatrical innocence. "He's lying. He bumped into me trying to get my attention or something. And now look, my designer outfit is ruined." She pointed at a few drops on her black pants, ignoring the lake of coffee soaking my lap. Linda across the aisle had already sprung into action. She pulled a small package of tissues from her bag and leaned forward. "Here," she said, her voice calm and matter-of-fact. "The turbulence is still bad, but this might help until the flight attendants can get to you." "Thank you," I managed, taking the tissues. "Really, thank you," Veronica scoffed. "Oh great, now everyone's taking his side. This is so unfair." I carefully dabbed at the scalding mess, the pain sharp and insistent. Through it all, Veronica kept filming, kept narrating her version of events where somehow I was the aggressor and she was the victim. What she didn't notice, what she was too focused on her performance to see, was that her own phone had captured everything. The angle, the elbow, the trajectory of the cup. The truth was right there in her own video, broadcasting live to thousands of people, and her followers were starting to notice. The coffee spill marked a turning point. The pain was real. My thigh felt like it was on fire beneath the soaked denim, but worse than the physical discomfort was the sheer injustice of it. She'd caused this, and now she was spinning it into content where I was somehow the villain. Nicole appeared almost immediately, first aid kit in hand. She'd clearly seen the spill from her jump seat during the turbulence. "Sir, are you okay?" Her voice was genuinely concerned. That looked like it hurt. "I'm fine," I said, though my leg was screaming otherwise. Her coffee spilled on me when the plane dropped. Before I could say more, Veronica jumped in. He bumped my arm. The plane was shaking and he totally slammed into me. It's his fault. Nicole looked from Veronica to me, clearly trying to assess what had actually happened. The captain asked everyone to remain seated with seatbelts fastened during turbulence. "I'll get you some ice and burn cream." She disappeared toward the galley, leaving me to continue dabbing uselessly at my jeans with Linda's tissues. The coffee had already set in, a dark stain that was going to be there for the rest of the flight. Veronica, meanwhile, was in full victim mode for her followers. "You guys, now he's getting special treatment. He assaults me, spills my coffee, ruins my outfit, and the flight attendant is giving him first aid. Make it make sense." Linda, across the aisle, had her own phone out now. Not recording, just watching something on her screen. She caught my eye and subtly angled it toward me. I could see Veronica's livestream, but I was looking at the comments section, and something was happening. Wait, I saw it. She elbowed him. Rewind the video. Her arm clearly hit him first. Oh my God, she's lying. The turbulence made her arm jerk into him. The comments were starting to turn. People were re-watching the moment, seeing what Veronica hadn't noticed she'd captured, the truth. Then someone posted a screenshot. The frame showed Veronica's arm extended, elbow out, making contact with my side just as the coffee cup left her hand. It was irrefutable. Receipts don't lie. She did that to herself. Why is she blaming him? Nicole returned with a cold pack and burn cream. Press this against the area through your jeans, she said quietly. And ma'am, she turned to Veronica, I need to ask you to stop filming. Recording other passengers without consent violates our policy. Veronica gasped like she'd been slapped. This is censorship! I'm documenting my experience! You're filming other passengers without permission. Please turn off your stream. This is a violation of my rights. Ma'am, Nicole's voice dropped several degrees. Turn it off now, or we'll have to confiscate your phone for the remainder of the flight. With a dramatic huff, Veronica angled her phone down, but I could see in the window's reflection that the little red recording light was still on. She was just being more subtle about it. The cold pack helped, but the damage was done. My jeans were soaked, my leg throbbed, and I was going to spend the next 4 hours in coffee-stained discomfort. Veronica kept up her running commentary, speaking quietly to her phone now that Nicole had moved on. The flight attendant was so rude to me. Of course she took his side. This is discrimination. Against influencers. Against women. Against people who understand the power of social media. I closed my eyes and tried to find my calm. My sister always said, "Don't wrestle with pigs. You both get dirty, and the pig likes it." But as I sat there in my coffee-soaked jeans, watching Veronica paint herself as the victim to thousands of followers, I felt that calm slipping away. The plane had leveled out. The turbulence had passed. The seatbelt sign dinged off, and that's when Veronica decided she needed to use the restroom. She unbuckled her seatbelt with a loud, defiant click. The sign just turned off, I said quietly. You can wait a minute for the flight attendants to finish securing the cabin. She turned to me with pure venom in her eyes. I don't take orders from you. She stood up, steadying herself against the seats. The plane was still a little wobbly, not dangerous, but enough that walking wasn't the smartest idea. Nicole's voice came over the intercom immediately. Ladies and gentlemen, while the seatbelt sign is off, we ask that you remain seated a bit longer while we complete our cabin check. Veronica ignored her. She was already in the aisle, phone held high to give her followers a view of her journey. Sometimes you have to break the rules to take care of yourself, she announced. Self-care isn't selfish. She took a wobbly step toward the back of the plane. Behind me, I heard James Rivera shift in his seat. He was watching her, his body language alert, in a way that suggested this was more than casual observation. Veronica made it 3 steps before the plane hit another pocket of rough air. Not turbulence exactly, just an unexpected jostle. Her balance was already precarious in those red heels. Why she hadn't taken them off was beyond me, and the movement sent her stumbling. She grabbed the headrest of the seat in front of her. The passenger, a middle-aged man in a business suit, turned around and glared. "Sit down," he hissed. She ignored him, straightened up, took another step. That's when she encountered the beverage cart. Nicole and Tyler had parked it in the aisle during the turbulence, its brakes locked. It was a standard safety procedure, but to Veronica, it was another obstacle in her path, another thing that was unfairly in her way. "Seriously?" she said loudly. "They just left this in the middle of the aisle? This is a safety hazard." She put her hand on the cart, not to steady herself, but to push it. The cart barely moved, held in place by its brakes, but it scraped against the floor with a harsh metallic screech. Nicole emerged from the galley, and her expression was no longer patient. "Ma'am, I asked you to remain seated. Return to your seat now. I need to use the restroom. The seatbelt sign is off, but we haven't completed our cabin check. Please sit down. Are you denying me the use of the bathroom? That's illegal. I'm asking you to follow safety procedures." Instead of complying, Veronica gave the cart another harder shove. This time it jerked forward despite the brakes, its contents rattling. A stack of plastic cups toppled and scattered across the floor. The business suit guy ducked as cups rained down. A kid 2 rows back yelped. Linda, across the aisle, stopped knitting and just stared. Nicole moved quickly, planting her foot against the cart to stop its momentum. "Ma'am, that's enough. I'm issuing you a formal warning." She pulled a small pad from her apron and began writing. This was serious, the in-flight incident report. The thing that could get you banned from an airline. Veronica's face twisted. "A warning? What are you, a teacher?" "This is your official notification that your behavior is being documented and will be reported to the captain and possibly to law enforcement upon landing." She tore off the sheet and held it out to Veronica. Veronica looked at it like it was a used tissue, and then, in a moment of spectacularly bad judgment, she slapped it out of Nicole's hand. The paper fluttered to the ground. The entire cabin seemed to freeze. That collective gasp you hear in movies actually happened. People who'd been trying to ignore the drama suddenly couldn't look away. Nicole's voice went ice cold. "You just struck a crew member's hand. That's assault. That's a federal offense." "I didn't strike anything. You physically hit my hand to knock the warning away. That's assault." That's when James Rivera moved. He unbuckled his seatbelt and stood up in one fluid motion, stepping into the aisle right behind Veronica. He was calm, professional, utterly in control. "Ma'am," he said quietly, "you need to stop what you're doing right now." Veronica spun around, ready to unleash on this new challenger. "Who the hell?" She stopped. James had pulled out a wallet and flipped it open. Even from my seat, I could see the badge. Federal Air Marshal. "Officer Rivera," he said, his voice still quiet, but carrying absolute authority. "You just assaulted a flight crew member. You're going to turn around, walk back to your seat and sit down, and you're not going to say another word." For the first time since boarding, Veronica Sterling was silent. All the color drained from her face. Her phone still recording captured her moment of reckoning in perfect high definition. James gently but firmly guided her back to our row. "Sit," he instructed. She sank into 9B like her strings had been cut. "Seatbelt," he said. Her hand shook as she buckled it. James looked at Nicole. "Do you need restraints?" She nodded, already pulling a package from an overhead compartment. Flex cuffs the soft zip tie style restraints used on flights when passengers become dangerous. "Ma'am," James said to Veronica, "for the safety of everyone on this aircraft, I'm going to secure your hands. You're not under arrest, but you are being restrained until we land. I didn't do anything. You shoved a beverage cart, scattered equipment, and struck a flight attendant's hand. That's 3 federal violations. Hands behind your back, please." He was professional, calm, but there was no room for argument in his voice. Veronica complied, her face pale, her earlier bravado completely evaporated. James secured her wrists behind the seat back, checking to make sure the cuffs weren't too tight. Her phone had fallen into her lap, screen still facing up. The live stream was still running, and thousands of people had just watched her go from entitled influencer to restrained passenger in under 60 seconds. Nicole picked up the fallen warning slip, then spoke into the intercom phone. "Captain, we have a level 2 situation in the main cabin. Request law enforcement meet the aircraft. Level 2. Physical interference with crew. This wasn't going to end when we landed. This was going to involve police." James returned to his seat. The cabin was silent except for the engine drone. Even the kids had stopped making noise. Beside me, Veronica sat rigidly, her face a mask of shock and disbelief. All her performative confidence had shattered against the reality of consequences, and her phone, her constant companion, her weapon, her shield, was now her accuser. Everything she'd done, everything she'd said, was recorded. Not just by her, but by other passengers too. Linda across the aisle had been discreetly filming. So had several other people. The evidence was overwhelming, and it was all going to be waiting for her when we landed. The rest of the flight was the quietest 3 hours I'd ever experienced at 30,000 feet. Veronica sat beside me in her crimson blazer, now wrinkled and less impressive, saying nothing, her restrained hands making any movement difficult. Her phone lay in her lap, screen dark now. The live stream had finally ended. Whether she'd stopped it herself or her battery had died, I didn't know. but the silence from her was more unsettling than all her previous noise combined. Nicole and Tyler resumed their duties with calm professionalism, but there was a new tension in their movements. They'd just dealt with an assault. Federal marshals don't reveal themselves unless absolutely necessary, and James Rivera had been forced to intervene. I tried to read my book again, but I couldn't focus. My legs still throbbed where the coffee had scalded me. The cold pack helped, but I'd be dealing with this burn for days. Linda caught my eye from across the aisle and gave me a small, sad shake of her head. The gesture said everything. What a mess. What a waste. What a completely avoidable disaster. About an hour before landing, Nicole stopped by our row with bottles of water. She handed one to me, then carefully helped Veronica take a sip from hers since her hands were secured. "Are you doing okay, sir?" Nicole asked me quietly. "How's your leg?" "It's better," I said. "Thank you for everything. I'm sorry you had to deal with this." She glanced at Veronica, who was staring straight ahead, then back to me. "When we land, law enforcement will board first. They'll need statements from you, from me, and from Officer Rivera. Are you comfortable with that?" "Yes," I said. "Absolutely." After Nicole left, Veronica finally spoke. Her voice was small, completely different from her earlier performative drama. "This is all your fault," she whispered. I turned to look at her. "Excuse me?" "If you'd just given me the seat," she said, still not looking at me, "none of this would have happened." The sheer audacity of that statement took my breath away. She'd lied about her seat assignment. She'd spilled coffee on me and blamed me for it. She'd refused crew instructions, shoved a beverage cart, and struck a flight attendant. And somehow, in her mind, this was all because I wouldn't give up a seat I'd paid for. "No," I said quietly. "This happened because you think rules don't apply to you. Because you believe being an influencer makes you special. Because you've never faced real consequences for your behavior." She didn't respond, just kept staring ahead, her jaw tight. We began our descent into Miami. The captain came on the intercom with the standard landing announcement, but added a note at the end. "Once we arrive at the gate, please remain seated. Law enforcement will board the aircraft to address an incident. We appreciate your patience." The plane broke through the clouds. Below, Miami spread out in a patchwork of buildings and beaches and impossibly blue water. Any other time, I'd be gripping the armrest, managing my landing anxiety. But today, I just felt numb. We touched down with a gentle bump. The plane taxied to the gate, and then we waited. 2 Miami-Dade police officers boarded almost immediately. They were professional, courteous, and clearly experienced with this kind of situation. "Ma'am," one of them said to Veronica, "we're going to remove these restraints and escort you off the aircraft. Please cooperate." They carefully cut the flex cuffs. Veronica rubbed her wrists, her red nail polish chipped now, her crimson blazer rumpled. She looked small and defeated. As they led her up the aisle, a few passengers held up phones to take pictures. It was ironic she'd craved attention, documentation, proof of her experiences. And now, in her moment of humiliation, she was getting exactly that. The officer turned to me as they passed. "Sir, we'll need a statement from you. Please wait in the jetway." I nodded. After they removed Veronica, Nicole and James gave their statements. Then it was my turn. I stepped off the plane into the jetway, where a different officer, a woman with kind eyes and a tired expression, waited with a notepad. I told her everything. The seat dispute at boarding, the coffee spill, the live stream, the cart incident, the slap. She wrote it all down, her expression neutral. "We've confiscated her phone," the officer said. "The video evidence is pretty clear. She'll be charged with interfering with a flight crew, which is a federal offense. You'll probably be contacted by the airline and possibly the FAA for follow-up." She handed me a card with a case number. "If you want to press additional charges for the burn injury, you can. Think about it." I took the card and walked into the terminal. My phone immediately buzzed with notifications. While I'd been in the air, something had happened online. Veronica's live stream had been screen recorded by multiple viewers. Clips of the seat argument, the coffee spill, the cart incident, all of it was circulating on social media, but not with the spin she'd intended. People had slowed down the video, circled the moment her elbow hit my ribs. They'd posted screenshots of her shoving the cart. The moment she slapped the warning out of Nicole's hand was looping on Twitter with thousands of retweets. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. Read one comment. This is why you follow the rules, said another. Imagine throwing away your entire platform over a window seat. Her followers, her Lux Lifers, were abandoning her in droves. The comments on her profiles were brutal. Unsubscribing. This isn't the content I signed up for. Assault isn't luxury living. My phone buzzed again. An email from the airline. Dear Mr. Chen, we are aware of the serious incident on Flight 1847. We sincerely apologize for the unacceptable behavior you experienced. As compensation, we've credited your account with $750 in travel vouchers and upgraded your status for the next year. Additionally, we are pursuing a lifetime ban against the passenger in question. Thank you for your patience and cooperation. I read it twice. $750 in vouchers, a status upgrade, and Veronica Sterling banned from the airline for life. It felt like justice, but hollow somehow. This whole mess, this stupid, avoidable disaster, had started because someone refused to accept a simple rule. Sit in your assigned seat. That's it. That's all she had to do. I collected my luggage and caught an Uber to my hotel. The driver tried to make conversation, but I wasn't in the mood. I just watched Miami roll past the windows, trying to process what had just happened. In my hotel room, I finally had time to properly deal with my leg. The coffee burn had raised an angry red welt across my thigh. I carefully applied antibiotic ointment and covered it with gauze. It was going to scar. I thought about my sister's advice, don't wrestle with pigs. But I hadn't wrestled. I'd just sat in my assigned seat and refused to move. Everything else, the live stream, the coffee, the cart, the arrest, that was all her. My phone buzzed again. A text from Linda, the woman who'd been sitting across from me. We'd exchanged numbers while giving our statements. Just wanted to check if you're okay. That was the wildest flight I've been on in 40 years of flying. You handled it with remarkable grace. I smiled and typed back, Thanks. I was just trying to read my book. Well, you've earned a vacation after that. Enjoy Miami. Over the next few days, the story continued to evolve online. News sites picked it up. Influencer arrested after assaulting flight attendant over seat dispute. The video clips went viral. Legal experts weighed in on the potential charges. Travel bloggers used it as a cautionary tale. Veronica Sterling's social media accounts went dark. Her website was taken down. Her sponsors dropped her one by one. The luxury brands she'd partnered with issued statements distancing themselves from her behavior. 3 million followers evaporated almost overnight. I attended my architecture conference, gave my presentation on sustainable urban design, networked with colleagues. Life went on, but I couldn't stop thinking about that flight. About how a simple dispute over a seat had escalated into a federal case. About how someone's entire career had imploded because they couldn't accept a basic rule. About how desperation for content, for attention, for validation from strangers had driven someone to make catastrophically bad decisions. On my last night in Miami, I sat on my hotel balcony looking out at the ocean. My leg was healing. The burn was fading to pink. The whole experience felt surreal now, like a bad dream. My phone buzzed. An unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Mr. Chen? A woman's voice, quiet and uncertain. Yes? This is Veronica Sterling. I sat up straight. How did you get this number? The airline gave it to my lawyer. For settlement discussions. She paused. I'm not supposed to contact you directly. My lawyer would kill me if she knew I was calling, but I needed to say something. I waited. I'm sorry, she said. The words came out, choked, like they hurt. I'm sorry for everything. The seat thing, the coffee, all of it. I was so focused on my content, on my image, on proving I was important, that I forgot to be a decent human being. I didn't know what to say. I lost everything, she continued. My sponsors, my followers, my credibility. I'm facing federal charges. My lawyer says I'll probably get probation and a fine, but my career is over. Everything I built for 5 years is just gone. I don't know what you want me to say, I finally replied. I don't want you to say anything. I just wanted you to know that I know I was wrong. And I'm sorry. Her voice broke. I'm so sorry. She hung up before I could respond. I sat there on the balcony, phone in hand, staring at the ocean. Part of me felt vindicated. She'd apologized. She'd acknowledged her mistakes. She was facing consequences. But mostly, I just felt tired. A week later, I was back in Seattle, back to my normal life. The burn on my leg was healing into a scar, a permanent reminder of the worst flight of my life. I was at my favorite coffee shop, working on a design proposal, when a barista approached my table. "Excuse me, are you David Chen?" I looked up, immediately wary. "Yes?" She smiled. "I saw the video, the airplane thing. I just wanted to say, you handled that amazingly. I would have lost my mind." "I just wanted to sit in my seat," I said. "Exactly. That's all anyone wants, right? To just follow the rules and be left alone." She set down a fresh coffee. "This is on the house." For surviving that nightmare. After she left, I looked at the coffee properly hot, properly made, properly mine, and thought about the question that had been nagging me since that flight. Peace or justice? I'd wanted peace. I'd paid for a window seat specifically to manage my anxiety, to make the flight bearable. I would have been happy to have a quiet, uneventful journey. But Veronica hadn't given me that option. She'd pushed and pushed until something broke. And when it broke, the justice that followed wasn't something I'd sought, it was just the natural consequence of her actions. Simple rules exist for a reason. They're not about control or power. They're about basic fairness, about shared spaces functioning smoothly, about everyone getting what they paid for. Sit in your assigned seat. Follow crew instructions. Don't assault people. It's not complicated. My sister called that evening. "Did you see that the influencer got sentenced?" "What?" "Veronica Sterling. The judge gave her 200 hours of community service, a $5,000 fine, and a 5-year ban from all commercial airlines. Plus, she has to take an anger management course." Wow. The judge apparently told her that social media fame does not exempt you from basic human decency and federal aviation regulations. My sister laughed. I wish I could have seen her face. After we hung up, I pulled up the news article. There was a photo of Veronica leaving the courthouse, her face hidden behind sunglasses, no crimson blazer in sight. She looked ordinary, small, human. The comments section was predictably harsh. "Should have been jail time. She got off easy. Good riddance to bad influencers." I closed the article without commenting. I'd had enough of that world, that ecosystem of performance and judgment and manufactured outrage. 6 months later, I had another conference, this time in Boston. I booked my flight early, paid extra for a window seat, 12A this time, and arrived at the airport with my usual 2-hour buffer. At the gate, I found a quiet corner and pulled out a book. Different thriller, same sister recommendation. I was halfway through chapter 3 when I heard a familiar voice. "Okay, everyone, we're about to board. I'm so excited for this Boston trip. The energy is just incredible today." My blood went cold. I looked up. There, at the gate, was another influencer. Different person, different style, but same energy. The phone on a selfie stick. The performative enthusiasm. The same presumption that everyone around her wanted to be part of her content. She wasn't going to cause trouble, probably. Statistics suggested this flight would be completely normal. But as I watched her film herself talking about manifesting first-class vibes while clearly holding an economy ticket, I felt that familiar knot in my stomach. Not anxiety this time. Something else. wariness. When boarding started, I made sure to be near the front of my group. I got to my seat 12. A window. Confirmed and settled in quickly. The woman ended up several rows behind me. I didn't relax until the plane door closed. The flight was uneventful. No seat disputes, no spilled coffee, no federal marshals, just 5 hours of reading and occasional glances out the window at the clouds below. When we landed in Boston, I gathered my things and headed up the aisle. As I passed the influencer's row, I heard her talking to her phone. And that's how you travel in style, even in economy. It's all about mindset, you guys. She was blocking the aisle while filming her exit strategy. The passengers behind her looked annoyed but resigned. I kept walking. Not my circus, not my monkeys. Outside the terminal, my phone buzzed with an email from the airline. They were running a promotion. Upgrade to premium economy for just $75 on my next flight. I thought about it for approximately 2 seconds before declining. The window seat in regular economy was fine. It was all I needed. It was what I'd paid for, what I'd chosen, what worked for managing my anxiety, and most importantly, it was mine. Simple rules, simple solutions. Pay for your seat, sit in your seat, follow the instructions. Everything else is just noise. 3 years later, I was at my nephew's birthday party when someone mentioned the airplane influencer incident that had become internet legend. They didn't know I was involved. "Did you see that video?" my nephew's friend asked. "The woman who assaulted a flight attendant over a window seat? It was insane." "I heard she never flew again," someone else chimed in. "Like literally banned from every airline." "Good," my sister said, catching my eye across the table. "Play stupid games. Win stupid prizes." Later, when the party wound down and it was just family, my nephew asked, "Uncle David, what was it really like? Being there, I mean." I thought about how to answer. About the anxiety and the coffee and the restraints. About Veronica's face when she realized she destroyed her own life over a seat assignment. About the hollow feeling of vindication. "It was exhausting," I finally said, "and it didn't have to happen. That's the worst part. It was completely avoidable. But you were right," he insisted. "You paid for that seat. It was yours." I was right. I agreed. But being right doesn't always feel good. Sometimes it just feels like surviving. My sister walked me to my car that night. "You okay?" she asked. Talking about it can't be easy. "I'm fine," I said. "It's been 3 years. It's just weird how it became this big internet thing, how people who weren't there have such strong opinions about what happened." "That's the internet for you," she hugged me. "For what it's worth, I'm proud of how you handled it. You didn't escalate. You just stood your ground." Driving home that night, I thought about all the flights I'd taken since then, dozens of them, for work and family and life. Some had crying babies. Some had chatty seatmates. Some had turbulence that made my anxiety spike. But none of them had approached the chaos of Flight 1847. Most people, it turns out, just want to follow the rules. They want to sit in their assigned seats, drink their beverages, and arrive safely at their destinations. The Veronica Sterlings of the world are outliers' cautionary tales about what happens when entitlement meets consequences. I still pay extra for window seats. I still bring ginger candies and books. I still arrive 2 hours early because my anxiety demands it. But I'm not afraid anymore. Not of confrontation, not of standing up for myself, not of letting consequences happen to people who've earned them. Because here's what I learned at 30,000 feet over America. Simple rules protect everyone. Following them isn't weakness, it's wisdom. And when someone refuses to follow them, the best thing you can do is hold your ground and let the system work. Sometimes peace isn't possible. Sometimes justice is the only option left. And sometimes, just sometimes, those things turn out to be the same thing. My boarding pass said 9A. I sat in 9A. Everything else was just noise. And honestly, that's all it ever needed to be.